We all know that we are going through unprecedented times. And with due regards to all the hardships that different people are facing in various forms, the positive side about not having a precedence is that it challenges our way of thinking and forces us to think out of the box. And due to this radical thinking, endless possibilities open up in front of us. It is the time that gives us an opportunity to question our way of living, our priorities, and to see what is really worth seeking in this life. And it is really a challenge for us to keep the spiritual spark alive within us during these times when we are surrounded by uncertainty, despair, and gloom all around. And it is really a challenge to go through this unaffected. And it is with this view that I felt to share a key to open the treasure chest of inner peace, which is buried deep down in our consciousness and which is also our true nature. Allegorically, it is the philosopher's stone that awakens our hidden potentialities. So today, we are going to talk about the Gayatri mantra, the physics and chemistry of the Gayatri mantra. The science of mantra is very ancient, and it is practiced in one way or the other all around the world. The mantra science was developed by ancient scientists whom we know as rishis in India or seers all around the world. And the science of mantra is basically based on the cosmical powers of sound, thought, and will. Sometimes, due to some mantras based on sound only, mostly it is assumed that mantra is the repetition of set of words irrespective of the fact, whether it is done mechanically or with the awareness of the idea behind it. And although the spoken words does create a form in ether, but it is not long-lasting, not very stable, and not very effective due to the lack of power and energy of thought and conviction behind it. Because mantra, the word mantra as it is explained as mananta iti mantra, which means mantra is something that is to be reflected upon, pondered upon, meditated upon to transcend the normal state of consciousness. It is like a seed which is nurtured by our constant remembrance. It sprouts and takes root in our consciousness, and gradually the hidden wisdom behind that becomes a part of our nature, of our being, when it is said to be actualized. Thus, it is not just a repetition mechanically or without any awareness. Rather, it is the remembrance with intelligence and understanding that brings about the real effect of a mantra. Today, we are going to talk about the Gayatri mantra that has been chanted all over India since long time. And presently, in many parts of the world, due to its remedial effects and highly perceivable positive effects on whole of our being, on all the dimensions of our being. Even J. Krishnamurti, also known as modern Ashtavakra or the world teacher, in his notes in 1925 wrote that this mantra has been repeated in India for many centuries. That is why the land is sacred. And it is no surprise that so many seekers of truth around the world have found refuge and felt at home in this sacred land. And it is no surprise that Madam Annie Besant, the second president of the Theosophical Society, considered this place as his motherland even when she was from Europe. Not just that, as per the aphorism 92 of the Madhyam Nikaya, which is known as Silla Sutta, in that the Buddha is quoted as saying, while describing the significance of various aspects of our life, that of sacrifices, the fire sacrifice is the sacred. Of Vedic hymns, Savitri is the foremost. Savitri is also another name for Gayatri mantra, and why it is so, we are going to talk shortly. But we assume that by now you are aware of all the benefits and positive effects that this mantra bestows upon its reciter, so we are not going to talk about that much. Instead, we are going to talk about something that very few people are aware of, and that is what actually happens in the cosmos, around us, within us, when the Gayatri mantra is chanted by us. And it is in this reference we are going to share a clairvoyant investigation by a theosophist known as C.W.Leadbeater, who did this research in 1925. But before we do that, we would like to share a brief introduction covering all the aspects of Gayatri mantra for those who are not yet familiar with it. And we start by saying that Gayatri mantra is not just a mantra. Instead, it is a mantra and a prayer combined. A mere mantra depends for its effectiveness upon the powers inherent in sound and the thought behind it. It may or may not have any meaning, but the prayer is an act of highest order. It is the complete self-surrender to the Supreme by using one's own willpower. And in the three parts of the Gayatri mantra, the power of the mantra is welded together with the power of the prayer. And these three parts can be understood as preparation, meditation, and reception. That is, preparation of the bodies, meditation on the divine radiance of divine sun, and reception of divine grace by complete self-surrender. In the first part, if we see, the sacred word Om is chanted with 7 great utterances, which are called in Hindi Vyatyas, which are as follows: Om Bhu, Om Bhuva, Om Suva, Om Maha, Om Jana, Om Tapa, Om Satyam. Many of you, I assume, would not have come in contact with this aspect of Gayatri mantra, because these days, mostly, only the 3 great utterances, that is Bhu, Bhuva, Swa, are being used as prefix to Gayatri mantra. Why? We are going to talk about it soon. But it is a subject of great interest that these 7 prefixes actually indicate the 7 planes of nature, or 7 layers of consciousness, or 7 principles, or 7 bodies of a human being. And they are used before the mantra so as to produce a conducive atmosphere to receive the energy, the flow of energy that is being generated by the second and third part. So basically, by saying these prefixes with Om, it actually prepares, organizes, and brings all our bodies in harmony with each other, so as to be ready to receive the flow of the energy. But since at the present stage of evolution, most of the humanity is caught up in the field of physical body, desires, and thoughts. That is why, to have the impact of the mantra to cleanse these aspects preferentially of our existence, only the 3 prefixes are commonly used, which are Bhu, Bhuva, Swaha. We can call them physical, that is for the physical and etheric body, pranic body. Astral, that is for our desire body. And mental, that is for our mental body. In Hindu religion, they are known as Bhu-lok, Bhuvar-lok, Swar-lok, or Tribhuvan. So that's why out of the whole 7 prefixes, normally the 3 are used in common day use. The second part, Tat Savitur Vareniyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimani. This part is about the meditation. Meditation on what? Meditation on the divine radiance of the presiding deity of this mantra, who is none other than the presiding deity of our solar system, the spiritual sun, who is also known as the solar logos, and also he is known as Savita, and that's why another name for Gayatri mantra is also Savitri mantra, because the deity of the mantra is also called Savitri. And by this meditation, the aspiration to come in contact with the consciousness of the spiritual sun is made strong by the seeker. And the third part is Thiyo Yona Prachodaya, is to bring about an attitude of complete self-surrender to that highest entity of our solar system, which is the source of all life, all light, all love, to receive the divine grace. Because it is only the ego, the veil of the ego, the sense of separateness, that is the only obstacle between the individual and the universal consciousness. So these are the 3 parts of the Gayatri mantra. And that is the science behind it. Now we come to a very famous idea about the Gayatri mantra, as per which Gayatri is called the mother of the Vedas. Some people find it exaggerating and others call it blind belief, because I think they don't understand the symbology or allegory behind that statement. Because if we go deeper with an open mind, we can observe the effects on ourselves. The contemplation on Gayatri mantra leads to the gradual unfoldment of our consciousness. And this unfoldment or expansion of consciousness takes us gradually from I to we, from illness to wellness, or from individual consciousness to universal consciousness, or Brahma. Because universal consciousness is the consciousness of the Brahma, which is the treasure house of all knowledge, all wisdom that is possible to achieve in this solar system. And what else are the Vedas? Other than this knowledge and wisdom of Brahman, or the universe. So, due to the transformation brought about in our consciousness by the Gayatri mantra, this can be achieved, and hence, symbolically, Gayatri is called as Mother of the Vedas. Before we go any further, let us discuss a couple of misconceptions also, which is very important to talk about the Gayatri mantra. First is, the statements are often found in the religious literature that the purpose of Gayatri mantra is merely to destroy the sins committed during the day. Now, any person having a basic understanding of law of karma can easily challenge the truth behind this statement. It is same like just by taking a dip in the holy river Ganges, your sins are absolved, you are absolved of all your sins, or just by doing confession in the church, all your sins are absolved. But any person who thinks logically the working of law of karma will not be satisfied with this blind belief. And this belief about Gayatri mantra is not only misleading but also a gross understatement of the power and efficacy of the mantra. It gives a totally wrong idea with regards to its purpose. But yes, if looked from the other aspect, since our whole character begins to change on doing this meditation, due to which we are stopped by our own conscience from taking part in any sinful action, then it is totally a different thing. Another misconception that arises due to a statement in Chandogya Upanishad which says, Gayantam trayate iti Gayatri, means that person who sings Gayatri mantra is protected by it. And such statements are mostly misunderstood by our cunning mind that if somebody chants Gayatri mantra, he will never have any hardships or struggles or troubles in the life. His or her life will be very smooth, always full of pleasures, no pains, and it will be like a walk over the rose petals, etc., etc., etc. But it is not so. Because whenever the word protection is mentioned in this kind of reference, it has nothing to do with the material or physical benefits of the person. Instead, it is used for the inner life of the individual. It actually is the protection of the spiritual spark and the direction of evolution of the individual. Because all other events like birth, death, illness, job, family, relationships, money, pleasure, pain of whatever kind are the results of our past karma and they have to be endured. But yes, the spiritual practice of this kind helps in developing virtues in us like patience, perseverance, compassion, and joy, which in turn helps us to face all these troubled times and hardships with cheerfulness and equanimity. Another misconception about the Gayatri mantra is, and we may actually smile or laugh about it, that since it is being in Sanskrit, it is only for the Hindus. It is as illogical as saying that the laws of gravity are only for the Christians because it was founded by a Christian and were in English. So we can see the utter futility of that kind of idea. And we will see later that it is equally effective in any other language. Thus, Gayatri mantra is a lofty prayer, unmatched in its sublimity, and it is as well a prayer for the whole of humanity. Now, coming to the origin of Gayatri mantra or Savitri mantra, although it is mentioned in all the three Vedas, but let's go by the oldest one, where in Rig Veda Mandal 3.62.10 it is mentioned. And although Rishi Vishwamitra has been attributed with the creation of Gayatri mantra, but there is a deeper science that we would like to go into this. We know that nature is a storehouse of unlimited knowledge and power. But to receive that kind of knowledge, one has to become eligible. And a mantra is a hidden potency which is always present in nature. And when someone raises his or her consciousness through deep meditation, this combination of letters presents itself to the individual. And that individual is said to be the seer or drishta of that mantra. That is why Vishwamitra is called, or any rishi of the mantra is called mantra drishta, the seer of the mantra. So accordingly, the rishi is more like a discoverer rather than an inventor. Just like the modern scientists discover the various laws of physics, they don't create them. Similarly, a seer is a spiritual scientist who from time to time raises his consciousness with some objective and becomes a channel to not just bring down the divine energy for the welfare of all, but also of finding the means by using which everyone can access their divinity. And Gayatri Mantra is exactly for that purpose, for self-transformation and world regeneration. Now we come to the deity of the mantra. Those who don't know, every mantra has a deity. Now what is the science behind it? Just like we have a 10-digit code, I think by now every one of us have, which we call our mobile number. And if anyone, anytime, from anywhere in the world, dials your number with appropriate national, international codes, is bound to connect with you. Similarly, a mantra is a code, a frequency which invokes a particular force and vibration in nature. And this force is called its deity. And as I just mentioned before, the deity of the Gayatri Mantra is none other than the solar Logos himself, or Surya Narayana as we call him in Sanskrit, or the spiritual sun. The sun, as we see, is just the physical body of that spiritual sun which is hidden behind, which is known also as Savitra. That's why Gayatri Mantra is also known as Savitri Mantra. On a deeper note, however, since the higher self of each one of us, which is known as Jivatma, in essence is same as the divine self called Paramatma, so it may be inferred that actually Gayatri Mantra is an appeal to one's higher self, which is the universal self. Now we come to the meter, or in Hindi what we call the chand of Gayatri Mantra. The interesting thing about this mantra is that although the literal meaning of the word Gayatri is related to song or a hymn, but even the meter in which it is created is called Gayatri. And that is why some people get confused when they hear the Gayatri mantra of different gods or devas. Those mantras are called Gayatri due to their meter and not due to their meaning. Gayatri as a meter is a 3-foot stanza with 8 letters in each foot, and thus a total of 24 letters. As you can see, the 24 letters of the Gayatri Mantra are Ka, Sa, Vi, Tur, Va, Re, Ni, Yam. Second foot is Bhar, Go, De, Va, Sir, Di, Ma, Hi. And the last foot is Di, Yo, Yo, Na, Pra, Cho, Da, Yat. So these are the 24 letters, and an interesting correlation is offered here by few observers that the spinal cord of a human being also has 24 movable vertebrae, 7 cervical, 12 thoracic, and 5 lumbar. And the remaining are immovable ones known as sacrum and coccyx. And it is said that each letter of this mantra affects the corresponding part of the spinal cord. Now we come to a very important part of the mantra, which is the meaning. Because it is the meaning on which we meditate in the second part of the Gayatri Mantra as discussed. And the meaning is really important also because it's Sanskrit in general, and this mantra in particular is something that a word or letter may have multiple meanings. Gayatri Mantra has also been translated with so many meanings that it's almost confusing for the mind to arrive at a conclusion. The confusion is also due to the fact that the word buddhi in Hindi is very often translated as intellect in English. The letter dhi in dhiyo yonah prachodaya represents buddhi, which refers to our faculty in all human beings which is beyond the mind. And an evidence of that can be had from Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 verse 42, in which he says that senses are above the body, the mind is above the senses, the buddhi is above the mind. But very often it is translated in English as intellect or activity of the mind, because mind is considered to be the only tool of understanding as per the Western psychology till recently. But with the latest updates, even that is being changed, and there is a common understanding within the scientific community also that there is a substratum of something, of consciousness, which connects everyone. And due to that only, the sense of unity in us is possible as an experience, as a realization. The same thing in Eastern psychology is known as buddhi, or wisdom, or pragya, intuition, or intelligence, various names. So it is a higher way of understanding, in which case the meaning of the mantra will be, we meditate upon that adorable divine radiance of the divine Son. May He energize our buddhi. May He energize our spiritual intuition, our wisdom, our pragya, or direct perception. But all this discussion would be incomplete if we do not dwell a little deeper into the faculty that is pragya, or intuition. And because it is high time that we took it more seriously, or rather I would say more sincerely, if not seriously, because this is the faculty that has the key to all our problems in our day-to-day life. It has the solution for all the struggles, troubles, and hardships in our life. In the words of Sri Krishna Prem, Yogi Sri Krishna Prem, buddhi is the intuition which grasps all connections and grants us the vision of the wholeness. The buddhi then is the vision which sees the pattern of the whole, and which, therefore, being able to take account of the whole, is preeminently the charioteer of the psyche. When the chariot is driven according to the dictates of buddhi, no harm can ever come to it, for it will be driven in the spirit of cosmic harmony, in which there are and can be no mishap. Unquote. And the vibrant example of a charioteer riding the chariot we can have from Mahabharata, in which, although it is a historical fact, but if we study it as in an allegorical way, Sri Krishna, the Christ consciousness or the Krishna consciousness, is a symbolism of our buddhi. And Arjun is a symbol of our mind. So when the chariot is driven by our whole personality is driven by our buddhi, there can be no mishaps in our life. Similarly, H.P. Blavatsky, the chief co-founder of the Theosophical Society, said that it is the only faculty by means of which people and things are seen in their true colors, and it is our duty to keep alive in man his spiritual intuitions. It is the most important thing in life. As we can see, when Adi Shankaracharya in his book Vivek Chudamani, the crest jewel of wisdom, says that intuition or pragya is that faculty that enables one to realize unity of individual self with universal self. That it is a state of non-duality, and it is a state of being. In that state of being, nothing else but divine will shall manifest. By studying all these above quotes, one can very easily and clearly observe that this is the faculty that is going to have the most significant role in the functioning of the next generation evolution. And it leaves us with no doubt in our minds that why else this mantra was given to us except for practicing and transforming the human consciousness and making ourselves ready to work in the next phase of human evolution, which is a transition from I to we, from individual to universal. And this is the same idea that is represented in this mantra by the use of the word the, which represents the plurality, which means it is not a mantra that one does just for his or her own benefit. It is said that we meditate and may our pragya is energized, which means we are not doing it just for myself. Whenever we do it for the humanity as a whole. So the humanity consciousness, the human consciousness is raised a little bit, and we give our little bit in taking the burden of the karma, the heavy karma of the world, and try to do our part. Not just by doing it for ourselves, but for everyone. And with this, we come to that part of our presentation which is the most exciting and inspiring at the same time, and which inspired us also to make this video. As mentioned earlier, we are going to discuss what actually happens in the cosmos, in and around us, when Gayatri mantra is chanted by us or by anyone. We are going to share the clairvoyant investigation of the Gayatri mantra done by eminent theosophist C.W.Leadbeater in 1925 in Bharat Samaj temple of the Theosophical Society, Adyar. But why is it important to know? We know the benefits, so why to go in detail how it happens? Lots of researches about the marvelous effects and benefits of Gayatri mantra have been done, but none of them have been able to explain why and how such results are obtained. It is important to try to understand the causes and the process behind so that it can be used in a more effective manner. Just as after realizing in a scientific way that our emotions, our thoughts, our thinking process have a great effect on our physical body, and most of the ailments or illnesses that we are having in the physical body are the consequences of our way of thinking, of our emotions, which means that these ailments are not just the ailments of the body, but they are psychosomatic ailments. And the word psychosomatic was evolved due to this relation between the invisible causes and the visible effects. And that's how there is a common understanding all around the world that we should become more aware of our emotions, our desires, our thoughts, if we want to remain really healthy. Similarly, in this aspect, when we come to know what happens when the Gayatri mantra is chanted, we will be able to use it in a much grander way for the benefit of all. And we are happy to share with all of you with this because it is the first time in modern human history that a scientific description of what happens when a mantra is chanted has been given to public. And no other instrument till date by modern science has been able to perceive this. But maybe in future there may be some more sensitive instruments which will be able to confirm that was stated in 1925, as we are these days having those cameras which can even take the photograph apart from the physical body of a person. So maybe in future there are more sensitive instruments through which this can be tested. Based on his observations, C.W.Leadbeater says that it is evident that due to the long usage of this mantra, the Deva kingdom has become very familiar with it, and it responds to it in a very striking manner. A manner so beneficial that confirms to us that the ancient rishis and the seers were in complete knowledge of the fact of the beneficent and positive aspects of this science of mantra. And not just that they knew it, they also practiced it and spread it so that more and more people can use it. This is a very important and intriguing statement about the invisible world this Leadbeater is making. The invisible world that we have around us and how we keep affecting it continuously by our words, emotions, and thoughts. This is a vast subject. Of course, we will be talking about it at some other point of time, but for now it is sufficient to know that there are entities whom we know as devas or angels who are ready to help whenever they receive a benevolent energy from us humans. Then a word of caution is given by C.W.Leadbeater about the pronunciation. He says while pronouncing some of the words in the mantra, especially the prefixes, many people tend to extend them too much. And as you can see in the picture, example is that the word bhuva that we say, Om Bhuva, some people pronounce it as bhuvaha. This creates a certain disturbance while the thought form is being created. So it is recommended to make the pronunciation clean and clear. But if someone is not able to do it, there is no need to feel any despair, any kind of despair, because to some extent, intense aspiration and faith and reverence, this effect can be compensated with. Now, we come to the real part and the relationship that we talked about, that is between the mantra and its deity. Because we all know that the rishis who made some rituals or discovered some things, they did not do in vain or without any reason. And in this case, this relation between the mantra and its deity is a very mystical one. And Leadbeater observed that when the Gayatri mantra is chanted, something utterly unthinkable and marvelous happens. He says that the great shaft of light, which immediately pours down upon the reciter and into the reciter, comes as though from the physical sun, in whichever direction the sun may happen to be. I repeat it, that the great shaft of light, which immediately pours down upon and into the reciter, comes as though from the physical sun, in whatever direction the sun may happen to be. Just to reaffirm that this shaft of light is not seen by our physical eyes, but its effect can be experienced and proved by various experiments. It is just like we are not able to see the 3G, 4G or 5G waves or ultraviolet or infrared rays, but their effects can be measured. He further says that there is something more to it. What happens when the sun is below the horizon? And in that case, he also observed that even in the case when the sun is below the horizon, the shaft of light does come, even passing through the earth and reaching the reciter. And the color of the light in this he mentioned was white tinged with gold. And also this gives us a hint about the time when the Gayatri mantra is to be chanted. So, although Gayatri mantra can be chanted at any time of the day, but maybe for the above reason, it is recommended to do during the 3 transition periods, or as we know them as Sandhya Kals, in morning, noon, and in the evening. Because once the sun is below the horizon, the light is passing through the matter of the earth. And we all know that whichever wave or whatever kind of wave, in whatever kind of medium it passes through, it is affected little bit or more in whatever manner, but it does get affected through that medium. When the sun is high up in the sky, the light is coming through the space, which is a clean, clear medium. And that's why maybe it is recommended to do it in the daytime. But this is not the end. He further says, Mr. Leadbeater further says, that once this light has filled up the very soul of the person, something even more astonishing and miraculous happens. What happens is that then this ray of light is divided into 7 rays, and they come out of the reciter, having the 7 colors of the spectrum. It is as though the reciter is acting as a prism, but only with a slight difference. When there is a separation of colors through prism, we can see that the rays coming out of the prism keeps on expanding. But here, when the ray of light, I would rather say the cones of light, when they come out of the reciter, they tend to converge at a point in front of the reciter. And why do I say a cone? Is because these rays do not come out from some point like a heart or from the brain of the reciter, but the base of these cones, of these rays, is the aura of the reciter. So, as much big as the aura of the reciter will be, that will be the base of the cone of the ray. And then that ray will go out and converge at a point in front of an observer. Now, talking about this base of the cone, it depends, as we just said, on the aura of the person. So, suppose a person is 6 feet tall and 2 feet wide, and his aura is about 1.5 feet on either side of himself. So, the base of these cones will be 9 feet in height and 5 feet width, which means it will make it look like as an oval or an egg. And mind you, this cone will be not just on top of the head, but it will also be below the feet under the ground, because our aura, as is sometimes mistakenly or easily forgotten, it is made up of subtle matter. So the way it is on top of our head, let's say 1.5 foot, it is equally inside the earth, below our feet, 1.5 feet. So this cone, the cone of light will have this 9 feet by 5 foot base, and the rays of light will come and they will point, they converge in a point. Similarly, if a person is spiritually evolved and has an aura of, say, 150 feet all around himself or herself, in comparison to this aura, the height 6 foot and the width 2 feet is actually almost negligible. So in this case, the base of the cone will be almost circular. And then from the circular base, the ray of light will go out and converge at a point. But there is something more to this process. What makes it special and something that we can use, that these 7 rays do not radiate in 360 degrees direction all around the reciter, but only in the front half of the reciter. And this gives us a hint why during the Bharat Samaja Puja ritual, the participants are made to sit facing each other as far as possible so that they can benefit each other. And how? That is also another important point, because these cones of light, the points that they are converging on in, are not just some points. They are living centers of vital energy. And the amazing thing that C.W.Leadbeater observed, that these centers of vital energy, whenever they came in touch with any person or group of persons, they moved with incredible rapidity and touched their heart and brain and caused a momentary glow in these two organs, but in a subtle level we can say in those two chakras. And the intensity with which it happened did not reduce even if there was one person or a group of persons or even many persons are there. This effect was produced in all the people, all the individuals that were present. That's why it gives us an indication that this energy is inexhaustible and it will produce its effect on as many as possible depending upon the aura of the reciter. And this gives us also another hint about the group chanting of the mantra. We all know how the power of thought increases, not just in arithmetical progression, but actually in exponential way. That 1 and 1 does not make 2, but 1 and 1 will go to 11 and further more. So this way, if one person's chanting of the mantra is producing this effect, imagine what will happen when a group of people chants this mantra. And that's exactly what Leadbeater says in his investigation next, that when a group of people chant this mantra, earlier the ray of light was coming to the individual up to his heart and filling him up with the light. In this case, the ray of light does come, the shaft of light does come, but not many, but one big shaft of light with a huge diameter, which is covering up all the group in one. And for a moment, the auras of this group, of all these individuals, are welded together and they act as one unit. And then, out of that larger base, these 7 colored cones of light are brought forth, and you can imagine to what distance and to what number of people it is going to have effect on. And now finally we come to the language of the mantra, and C.W.Leadbeater experienced it, investigated it, that even when it is done in English, but with the full feeling, meditation, reverence and belief, it produced the same effects. When it was done in Sanskrit, with the same intention, the effect was the same, with the only difference that when these rays of light are coming out, on the borders of them there is a wonderfully intricate kind of carved wooden framework, which of course is made of ether by the spoken words. But this sound form extended only for a short distance and did not seem to make any difference at all to the power and the size of the rays. So that was a short, brief description about the Gayatri mantra and what happens when it is chanted. From all of this description, we can deduce some important points, and which are: the Gayatri mantra is an invocation to the solar logos, the presiding deity of our solar system, Surya Narayana, to awaken our spiritual intuition in oneself, in anyone, and not asking about some material benefits. The second thing is, the response from the deity does come, but its quantum and the effects produced will depend upon the sincerity and the purity of the heart of the person who is reciting the mantra. By regular chanting of the Gayatri mantra, a definite transformation can be brought in our constitution and thereby overcoming our past karma. It does not imply that the individual has bypassed the law of karma, but in fact, It is by making a real effort in the present to cleanse his heart, to clean his intentions, that the person has overcome his prarabdha, his karma, by doing an effort in the present. Because trying to make a sincere effort for purity of the heart is not everyone's cup of tea. Because at some point of time, most of us, or rather I would say our cunning mind, at some point of time takes us in a different direction, and then we realize what our selfishness was. So it is, if somebody is trying sincerely to cleanse the intentions, it is a very big effort. And as the effect of Gayatri mantra is not limited to oneself, as we just saw, but to those around such person, it can be used for the holistic upliftment of those who comes in touch of such a person. Imagine how much good a person can do without saying a word while walking in the street, while traveling in the public transport, or while at the public gathering, etc. Just by using this mantra mentally, one can help so many others who are in need of this kind of help. And actually, this mantra turns every reciter into a Vishwamitra, symbolically. That is, a Mitra of the Vishwa, which is a friend of the world. And one more point is that it would be of much more benefit for the whole community if chanted by a group of individuals, as we already saw. Finally, it has already been proved by various experiments that chanting Gayatri mantra bestows upon the reciter innumerable benefits, but it is not and will never be a replacement for the sincere effort by a seeker to bring about a transformation in one's character. If we think that just by chanting this mantra and without making any changes in our way of life, without making any changes in our way of thinking, we are going to get transformed, then it's not going to happen. Then there will be no effect as such. But on the other hand, if the seeker has a sincere aspiration of self-transformation, the mantra will help in bringing about that transformation and will take the seeker through this journey with minimum struggles. And although we have shared with you the causes and the effects of Gayatri mantra chanting, but still it is up to each of you to include it in your daily routine and see the effects for yourself. Because it is not enough to say that the food is good until you eat the food, because then only the hunger is satisfied. Similarly, it is not good enough to say that such and such thing is very useful, beneficial, until it is implemented in our daily life. To have the results, to have the first-hand experience for ourselves. And with my best wishes in your spiritual journey, which is not different than the worldly journey, because there is no differently spiritual life and worldly life. They are all merged together. So my best wishes to all of you in all your noble efforts. And thank you for listening to this video. Namaste.